Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I'm excited to be kicking off a new series of videos in the lead up to Christmas. Can you believe that Christmas is rapidly approaching? And I'm going to be sharing lots of ideas for slow stitch, scrappy Christmas decorations and pieces that you can make as gifts. Ideally using things that you'll have around the home, not things you have to go out and buy, and making great use of scrap fabrics and other items that you might have in your stashes. So the first idea up is something that I have created from my imagination and from my scraps and goodies, and it's a wreath, one I'm going to call a wrapped wreath. I probably can't say that without not being able to say it, and it's featuring some fabric that I was taking apart. I think it might have been an old sari, but it had this beautiful embroidery, but then it also had some very just simple panels between them that didn't have embroidery on it. So I wanted to use those for something, and I ended up with some strips as well, and I wanted to use those. And if you've been watching my videos for a while, you might have seen when I got these beautiful stash of vintage glass buttons, and I really wanted to start to feature some of those rather than just keeping them in a box and looking at them with glee. So that's what I've done in this project. I've even used some of the sort of edging pieces that came off the sari piece and incorporated that as the handle. So I'll be showing you from scratch in this video how to make it. We'll make another one. I'll talk about, if you don't have glass buttons, some other ideas for buttons that you can use. I'll also talk about some other decorations if you don't want to do the sort of the plaited detail decoration. So let's get into it. So what you'll need is some cardboard. Now you could use a cereal packet or something with a little bit of thickness in it. If you had cereal packet or a biscuit packet and it wasn't thick enough, you could stick 2 layers together. You'll also need a circle template, but it can really be anything that you might have around. I'm just looking for where my ruler is to give you an idea of the size that I am making. So this is about 15 centimeters from the top to the bottom. Let's just have a look. Yep, 15 centimeters from edge to edge, so 7.5 centimeters from the center. And if you had a compass, you could draw your own circle, but whatever size you like, really. I was thinking these could also be nice to make in miniature, but I want to make this one of a decent size so you can kind of see what we're doing. So I'm using an embroidery hoop to do this, and I'm just using a regular pen. You could use a pencil. You're just going to mark out an outline. Didn't quite get that outline all the way around, but it's fine. I mean, it's really just a bit of a template. Doesn't have to be super precise. And then I'm going to use this jar for my inner section, and you just want to sort of position it so it's pretty even. As I say, it doesn't have to be precision at all. So I hope you're having a beautiful day or a beautiful evening. Then you want to get your scissors that are not your good fabric scissors and cut out your outer template. And so this is going to be going in the center of your piece. And what I love is that you're not having to buy, like you're not having to go out to the shops and buy a foam core or a sort of a wooden core. You can just use things you hopefully have around your house. I have this card which I'm normally wrapping fabrics around, but I recently used some fabrics and unwrapped some, so I've just had this sort of leftover card sitting by my desk, which I'd use again for fabrics, but I can also use it in my stitching projects. So yeah, if you're interested in ideas for Christmas decorations and Christmas gifts, keep an eye out on the channel here. And then we're going to make a hole in the center, and we're going to cut out the center area. Just make sure we're staying in focus. It's Tuesday evening here. I was all raring to go last night, but then I remembered I needed to send a little package off to my nephew and niece in Western Australia. Wanted to send some slow stitching goodies to my niece because she really got into it when I was over visiting there. So I'm hoping we can do some video calls and do some stitching together once that arrives. Might have to make some special videos for her as well. So again, just cutting out our center circle. Just get rid of any sort of jaggedy bits, although it's not really going to matter too much. And don't worry that some bits, like it's obviously a little bit thicker on that side, not really going to matter in the big scheme of things. So put that to the side, put that one out of the way. And what we then want is some fabric. So as I mentioned, I'm using some of this sari type fabric. I don't know if it's could be a real silk, although I think it's got a little bit of synthetics in it. And what we want to do is also thread up a needle with some coordinating thread. So I picked this one, which is a pretty good coordinating thread. I had actually threaded a needle, but in the process of moving things around, I'm not sure where my threaded needle has gone to. Always a bit of a hazard. Let me just have a check. Nope, can't see it there, can't see it there. So we will thread another needle. So it's good to get your threading done ahead of when you start to sort of wrap, because that way you'll have some thread ready to go to stitch your fabric pieces into place once you've done your wrapping. Well, we'll do some stitches first of all just to sort of hold it in place, and then we'll do our wrapping. Or you can use clips. I think I actually used clips when I was putting this together. So actually I might do. So I'm just going to kind of fold the edges in a little bit, and I'll just start it at the top, and I will just put a couple of little stitches in, and we'll come back and overlap this anyway. So you can push a needle through cardboard. It will be a little bit harder, but not impossible. Try not to come back through the top of your knot like I did there. So you just want it enough to hold it while you do your wrapping. So I'll just put my needle out of the way. And then what we want to do is just start pulling our fabric through. And again, I'll try and just fold my edges in. It doesn't really matter too much. Oh, and if you're wondering what thickness I'm using, but again, just use kind of what you've got. It doesn't have to be these exact dimensions. But this is about 14 centimetres thick or wide. And the length will just be how much you need to go around your circle, and it will depend on what size circle you have. So I won't measure the whole length, and the width really you'd make it kind of proportional to your circle anyway, and it depends how many times you want to wrap. So I don't think there is a right or wrong. It really just depends what effect you want, what fabric you have. If you have a thicker fabric, because this is quite fine fabric, you might end up wanting to. Now the other thing I want to avoid, I don't want to see those little machine stitched sections, so I'm going to actually tuck those under as I go. I just don't want it to look like it's a machine made decoration, because it is, whole idea is to be handmade Christmas. I don't have a sewing machine, so it can't be machine made, but just want to give those handmade vibes. But this is lovely, because it starts to give your cardboard a little bit of sort of, I guess, weight to it. Well, not weight, but just shape and dimension, I guess. And yeah, you can have it as sort of overlapping with your wraps or as sort of spread out. I want to make sure I'm at least covering the white of the template. If you were using, say, a white silk that's a bit see-through, you might want to colour up your base if you wanted like a colour to shine through it, or the white would be fine, but I guess just be careful with your pen marks if that's the case, if you're going to see through to your base. But with this one I just had to sort of overlap it a little bit, and then it was absolutely fine for covering. I just want to avoid having any of the little sort of poky out edgy bits showing. So that's why I'm just folding my edgy bits under as I go. And then I think we're almost at the point I might just do one more wrappy wrap. And then we can probably do some of our stitches to hold it in place. So pick a front and a back is useful to do. First of all, before you sort of finalise, make sure you're happy with how everything is pretty much looking. I think that looks quite nice. Probably need to just, again, I've got a little machine made bit there. So let's just, with one hand, sort of tuck it under, get it looking the way we want it to look. We've also got a little endy bit there. I can probably cut off that little taily bit that we don't want. It's on the back anyway, but still good to kind of get it right. Okay, so pretty happy I think with that. So I don't want to cut my thread, so I'll cut it with a little bit because I'm going to turn this over so I end up with a nice finished edge on the back. So I'll cut it off about like that. Then pull it over, fold my edgy bits in, fold the top edgy bit in and over, and then we're just going to sew that in place. So where's our thread? There's our thread. Let me just make sure again that we're staying in focus. Oops, what's happened there? And again, if you weren't into sewing, you could of course use some glue, but this is slow stitching fabric sort of projects for me, and I love to put some stitches in, do some decorating, do some embellishing. It's all fun. Good thing about not using glue is you don't end up with those sticky fingers that then stick to everything else. And so what I'm just doing is a stitching that's just catching my two layers together. The thread is in a matching colour, and this will be on the back of the piece anyway. And we'll be putting the hanger up the top here when we create the hanger. I'll have to see where I put my, I can see where my lacy off-cutty bits are. So again, just check you're happy with anything, get rid of any little endy bits you don't want to see. And once you're happy with that, you can put a knot in place and just secure that. And then I'll probably just secrete the end of my thread just back into the piece. So pop your needle in and pull it out. And then pull your thread nice and tight so that it will just sort of spring the end back just into the bit of fabric there. So next up is to think about how you want to decorate. So I've done a plait here, so I'm just going to, and I've made another plait in readiness. I just thought I'd show you the plaiting process at the end. It is helpful if you can attach the your plaited piece around something so that you've kind of got something to pull against. So I'm just going to tie it around my camera stand, although I probably should have even tied it a second time over. Let's see if that's about right. Yep. And so yeah, plaiting as simple as plaiting hair. So just start at the top. I usually put a few stitches in place to hold it at the top, the three pieces of the plaiting, or in this case I think I just sort of tore it so it went close to the top but not all the way up. And you're just going to plait it, keeping it nice and tight. And if you do have raw edges like I do here, we can try and sort of tuck them in as we go, but at the end we can remove any of the little hairy pieces, unless you're going for the hairy effect. And then when I get to the end, again, this is where it would have been good if I put a knot in my thread. So word of the wise, we could have had this ready to go. But otherwise, keep a few little clips near you, these little quilt clips, or you can use a bulldog clip if you don't have the little quilt clips. Again, I'm not one to say go out and buy things, just use what you've got. A little hair tie would work as well, just while you get your thread ready. And then we're just going to put some stitches in. I also like to kind of just give it a little wrap, and then we'll be trimming it off as well, just to take off the tail pieces, unless you decide you want the tail pieces as part of your design to make it a bit more sort of boho. So you could leave those and have those, for example, you could start your wrap down the bottom and have that hanging off it. We could give that a go, actually. I don't mind the look of that. I'm even wondering if I sort of take this little edgy piece off. I'll just take that piece off. Let's see. So I don't want the finished edge. Don't know if I need this little piece, so maybe I'll take that piece off. Take those off. But yeah, I don't mind the sort of the little taily bits, and maybe we'll just give ourselves a bit more. Let's see, improvising. See, things always happen. Sometimes I've got some friends that say, oh, I never quite know how to start something, or I've kind of struggling with ideas. I always find, but this might just be me, but I've chatted to other friends as well, like when you start, the ideas just kind of start to bubble up, and the design possibilities show themselves to you. So I always just start and see where it takes me. It is a little bit fray endy, but it could be okay. What do we think? We'll see. Might be a little bit too fray for my liking, but let's just see if we give it a little trim, whether it's a bit more controlled. How about that? I don't know. Let's see. I think if I can get rid of these little endy bits, that might make me happier. Don't really want it to look like little hairy bits hanging down. So if we did want to do that, I suppose it doesn't really matter whether this is down the bottom or up the top where we've done our stitches, so might have a go popping that there. Let's see. Be nice to do one that's a bit different to the other one, I suppose. But yeah, I guess this is showing that the possibilities are endless. And yeah, as I say, if you don't want to do a plait of some sort, if you don't want to do it in the same colour, you could definitely do like a contrasting, like a red would look great for Christmas. Sorry, I'm just untangling my little plaited piece. Probably should have done before I started stitching it on, but such is. Okay. There we are. Got it stitched onto the back at the moment. It does look kind of like little feathers or something, so it is actually quite cute. Okay, and then we'll just get our little piece, our plaited piece, and we'll just start to wrap it around, and then we can decide what sort of pattern. As you can see on this one, I kind of did two next to each other. But first I kind of just get it wrapped with the length that I have and see if I kind of like how that looks. I can always shorten the plait if I need to. Just left my thread attached in. I'll just stick my needle into my surface so it doesn't sort of disappear anywhere like my other needle did, which I'll need to relocate before I exit the room. I'm always very aware of not walking into the house and carrying needles where Travis might walk or snuffle. Oops, I've got an extra little endy bit there. So yeah, I'll be spreading out my little loops. I'm just kind of getting them down first of all, and then we'll spread them around. So don't do them too tight, we're really just wanting to get a bit of wrapping happening, but obviously, yeah, we do need to spread them out a bit. So we can just sort of ease them around a bit. Just gently sort of move them around the piece a bit to give a bit more space. What I love with this, it just starts to create a really interesting sort of, texture and sort of, interest for the piece. And you wouldn't know that it's just a piece of cardboard with some scrap fabric wrapped around it. You'd think it's something quite fancy. So I can bring that one over and down if I want, although that end is a little on the scrappy side. These a bit more spread around. That one's a bit close to the other one. Can be a bit of a problem leaving your thread attached. I could have trimmed it off, but just trying to make my job a bit easier for later. That one does look a bit scrappy, so I think I'm going to trim that end. So I will just put a stitch in. That was probably the bottom, the bottom section where it did have a lot of the fluffy bits still attached to it when I started plaiting. So we'll just tie this thread off and then we'll put another knot in the end of it and have it ready to finish off the other end of the piece. Right. Putting a knot in, sliding it down, and then, how far back do we want to take it? Maybe back to about there. Again, I'll just do a bit of wrapping around this end. Put some stitches in just to hold it all secure. And then how is that going to go? Can I get that one to go over? Just a bit of manipulation with the fabric. Oops, come on, needle around that way. And I just want to, in fact that's the back actually, isn't it? Yes. I was getting confused about where my back and my front of my piece was. So this is my front, that's the bottom at the moment. So I think that'll be okay actually. We'll just maybe attach that in about there. So I'll just tuck my endy bit under. Got double thickness of thread, somehow doubled itself up, but that's okay. That'll be fine for securing the end of the piece. Do that, like that, and like that. Again, and then we will snipperosy that off, and then we'll just do a bit more zhuzhing. Who was the one on that show, that one where they used to style people up, zhuzh their hair? So was it the show? Oh, I can't remember what it was called. Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Not sure. So I am just going to trim off a few of our little sort of hairier bits, but we're going to leave our nice little tussle down the bottom. Usually we should probably have about 5. I like to keep things in uneven numbers, so I'll turn this one into an extra little, if it will. Nope, that one's going to want to pull apart, so we'll leave it as it is. That'd be fine. So next up, we need to have a think about what we want to have for our decorations, our buttons. But I did want to show you, this is my Nana's very special ric-rac. And another idea, if you didn't want to do buttons, or even if you did, you could potentially have buttons and sort of ric-rac on it. Or you could use ric-rac in the place of the plaiting. But let's have a look first with the buttons, and then we'll decide if we need anything else. I might be able to use the ric-rac as a little tie. Again, it might be a little bit bright for the vibe I'm going for. This is more of a sort of a classic little vibe. Look how those glass buttons are glittering. So we need to decide if we want to have our buttons sitting between, or whether we want to put 2 of each of the plaits together, and then have our buttons between, sort of, have 2 of them a bit similar to this one. I think that does work quite nicely. So let's just group our little clusters and see if we can kind of get it to work. We don't have exactly the same number as I had on here. So we could, down the bottom, go for 1, 2. Maybe we'll do that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then, or do we bring 3 down here at the bottom? Or do I take one of my wraps off? Should have probably checked the number of wraps I had initially. Or, because we don't have that, will we try a method where I wonder if it would go if we had 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That way maybe we'd have to go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, we could do them in groups of 3. Just have to kind of get them to spread around a little bit. What do we think? Or go back to them spread out, and then maybe use some smaller buttons, because I have got some nice little red buttons which could work well. Or I can have a look at some of my smaller little mother of pearl. So these are some of my selection of buttons that I had picked out, but I'm wondering, the white ones are going to be too big. I think even these mother of pearl ones are probably going to be a bit on the big side if I'm putting them in the middle there. These glass ones, definitely too big. So what we might do is have a little look in our coloured, pinky ready coloured buttons, and just see if we can find some nice little red ones. What do we think? Do you like the little red ones? Will be like little berries on the piece. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Let's have a look. How do we think that will look? I think it would be quite cute. The other thing I have is some small, although I don't know if they'd be quite the right size, some small mother of pearl buttons. Let me just grab those. Got those ones. Got these. I do have a lot of them because I got these at the op shop recently. I think they could be lovely actually. I think they're going to look really nice and and classic, I think. Don't know if my light is sure why that light just sort of went down a little bit. Not sure. Just suddenly lost a little bit of its brightness, my little desk lamp. So these ones are lovely on their cards, but there's no reason to keep so many of them on their cards. I can definitely put some of them to good use. Keep all my lovely little display things out on a little vintage table display outside my craft room that I walk past every time I come in. How many do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Ooh, maybe I won't have enough on this one. Let's just, oh no, but I've got more of that same one, so that's okay. So how many have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Cut a few more off. 13, 14, 15. Did I say 15? I think so. Okay. So as you can see, they've got beautiful little shell patterns on the back. I'll get myself some more of my thread. We'll stick with the green, I think, because as I say, I'm just wanting to go for quite neutral, not going super bright, super Christmassy colours. Like this could be something you could even have up at another time of year. It's not screaming at Christmas, and even if you don't celebrate Christmas, you could do it as a sort of a harvest wreath, Thanksgiving wreath. Lots of possibilities. Could even do a Halloween wreath if that's what you wanted. So I'll start down here. So I'm just going to hide my knot under my first button. Make sure I've taken the thread out of the buttons. And then we're just going to sew them on. And you can, if you want to, be extra sure that they are secured well. This is what I did with the other one because the glass buttons are quite heavy. You can go through your cardboard piece. Just to make sure that everything's going to stay well attached. You can use your surface of your table if you've got something like a quilt on it to be able to push through. Just get rid of any endy bits like that hairy bit that's poked its way through. And then here, just 2 or 3 stitches through each button to hold it in place. This isn't going to have a lot of wear and tear. And then you can pass your thread and needle so that it passes at the back of your piece. And then you can pop through for your next one. I'm just going to make sure I've spread my pieces well enough around after moving them all the way around. So that one can probably just spread out a little bit more. A bit more space around. That's pretty good. So where are we popping up now? We're going to pop through here. So just coming through around the centre. Doesn't matter too much. Oh, this has still got a thread attached to it. Now it's gone. Yeah, so pleased when I found this stash of these mother of pearl buttons at the op shop down the bottom of a box. So always look down the bottom of the boxes. You never know what treasure awaits. It's that same op shop where I found amazing vintage and antique laces, just little bags of them, probably from the one person's collection. And you can either have all the sort of eyes of the, well, not the eyes, the, what are they, the centres, the eyes of the buttons, orientated the same way, or you can be totally random with them. You do you. I'll see whether I'm totally random or ordered when I finish stitching them on. So we'll just work our way around putting the buttons on, and then we'll put the measure the hanger and put that on. I'm thinking these will sit really nicely sort of on a door handle, or you could make them maybe a little bit smaller depending on the size of your tree. Maybe if you've got a big tree, this size would be okay. They could make lovely tree decorations. They'd make a lovely little like place setting. You could even you can get those little beads that have letters, so you could string up the name of each of your guests sort of across them, or you could put the letters into where the wreath is as well. I've done something similar in the past. So possibilities are endless, and as I say, you could use really nice bright greens and reds for your wreath, gold, silvers. Some people like the sort of blue and silver tones for their Christmas. Or if you don't celebrate Christmas, make yourself a nature wreath. Put whatever you like on it. Put whatever decorations, little charms. Beads would be lovely if you don't have a button collection that you want to kind of display. Could get little bells. You can get those sort of little crafty bells. They'd be really sweet. Have them hanging off. You could embroider onto your wreath. Possibilities really are endless, I reckon. Oops, trying to go through the plaiting, which is going to be a bit hard, so we'll avoid doing that if we can. Oops, try not to accidentally poke yourself. Invariably I probably will some point in this video. Just try and click and make sure we're staying somewhat in focus, hopefully. Oops, what have I done? I caught on there, pull that through properly, and then again just passing our needle at the back of the piece until we can pop up at the next centre. And the great thing about the cardboard as well is that you can, as I mentioned, stitch through it. So it's not like a thick foam or a piece of wood or something where you can't. So yeah, definitely make use of those scrap cardboards that you have around. If you're anything like us, you probably get a lot ending up in your recycling bin, but if you can put it to productive crafting use, that is even better than recycling. Ouch. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into the Christmas crafts. I have so many Christmas craft ideas. I've got so many Christmas crafting sort of scrappy supplies to be able to put to use. So I'm glad to be starting now, because I find once you kind of get into that real rundown to Christmas, the time just kind of gets a bit away from me. Invariably you've got sort of celebrations and catching up with people end of year. Work usually is a little bit busy as everyone sort of, it's like the end of the year approaches and everyone's got to get everything done. Whereas they don't kind of appreciate, it sometimes feels like people aren't really appreciating that we've got another year ahead. It's not like everything has to be done all at once. If it hasn't got done so far, maybe there's a reason. But it is that psychology, isn't it, where people go, end of year, must do all the things. Where sometimes that's the very time of year that you want to be slowing down a bit. So that's what I figure these little slow stitch Christmas, I think I'll call this series. That's what this is all about. For me, some quiet evening stitching and sharing some ideas and creations with you. Yeah, I'm glad I went with these mother of pearl buttons. I think they are perfect for this fabric. I think of this fabric as a Fleur Woods inspired colour. It really, this sort of green is something that she often paints her fabrics with for her retreats and classes. And so, yeah, it feels very Fleur Woodsy to me. The wonderful Fleur Woods textile artist extraordinaire. Definitely my muse. Okay. And then through here. Good thing is this starts to really sort of, also secure the fabric in place. It all just sort of starts to get it to hold together nicely. And the lovely thing is then you have your beautiful things like your buttons on display rather than just having them in a box. And they become a sort of a heirloom piece for you and your family. So excited that my niece is getting into stitching. It's going to be so lovely if she becomes a fellow slow stitcher. And if that's a nice little passion we can both share. And I can share all my supplies. She's in Western Australia, so I'll have to either take them over when I go visit or keep popping them in the mail. It's nice when you can share a hobby with the family members. I know a lot of my stitchy community. There's mothers and daughters and sisters that stitch together. And my lovely friend Sally, who's doing an amazing grimoire witches book at the moment, which is incredibly so. Sally is just super creative and comes up with the most wonderful designs, which she freely shares with folks, and it's just been amazing seeing what everyone's creating. I haven't been able, from a time perspective, be able to participate, but I am just loving seeing what Sally's doing, what our lovely friend Christy is doing in hers, and then other folks that are sharing theirs in Sally's Facebook group, which is Dottie B Vintage. I'm sure if you look it up, you'll find it. She's got a page and she's also got a Facebook group. And if you're not part of our our Slow Stitching Friends Facebook group, feel free to look that up too. And that's a place where you can share anything that you're creating, whether you're creating something off one of my videos or something that you have created yourself. We just love to see the creativity in there, and we'd love to welcome you to the group. So that's Slow Stitching Friends on Facebook. Just lovely to be able to kind of connect and get to know each other through different sorts of forums where we can interact. And then my amazing friend Annie from Arty Farty Annie, always doing so many creative projects. I wish I had more time to follow along with all the great ideas I see from my stitchy friends. One day I will stitch all day. But for now, sometimes work has to be done. But I think that makes me appreciate my evenings when I really do get to just come to the craft room and stitch. Sometimes I'm sorting the supplies, but mostly stitching, creating, pondering, playing. And that's the wonderful thing about this. It really is a form of play, isn't it? And so good for the brain, both to de-stress but also keep the brain active and creative. And if we can do that, that really, I think, helps our aging, doesn't it? Helps us to stay young-brained. You don't kind of want to become stagnant in your views, do you? You want to always be exploring, trying new things, even if it is only with stitch. Some people might think that's very tame, just stitching away, but I think we are brave hearts in our creations, aren't we? Just brave for putting our ideas out there, sharing them. They might not be perfect. Someone else might do something better, but it doesn't mean that our creation isn't good. And as you see, like, there's a fair bit of just kind of having an idea and then having to alter the idea a bit, discovering that you've done sort of one less wind than you did in your prototype. But it's not the end of the world. You just adapt as you go. And that's why I kind of leave those bits in the video. I don't edit them out. I'd rather you kind of see the creative process as I experience it. Not that that's a creative process that everyone experiences, but I just, give you the warts and all view of creating. Oops, let's try not to catch our piece. stitch down. Now, do I want to put any more little taily pieces? Because I have got this piece of the fabric left. I could tear this edge off and then get a bit of a straighter bottom on it perhaps. Turn it across that way. And then if I wanted to don't know if it's going to work, but again, in the interests of creativity, I suppose I could do some strips and then I can always stitch them together, can't I? Let's just have a look. Can pull the thready bits off this way, which is good. Get rid of the bits that are really looking very hairy. Hairy McClary. Did you ever read that book? I think it was an Australian book, or was it British maybe? About a dog. Hairy McClary. That probably overpowers it a little bit, doesn't it? Would it be better if I just had... No, I think I'm going to stick... I'll save those for another one, but for this one I think I'll just stick with what I've got as the bottom bits there. Let me just bring it back down into focus. Now we need to put a top on, and I've got, where did I put, here's some of the bits that I have removed off the piece. So I want one that's got a little bit of green on both sides. I'll just tear down a bit further. Just take that. This is all part of the deconstructing. You see I get a lovely piece of white lacy bit out of it. But I think, yeah, this bit will go quite nicely because these set off well with the mother of pearl buttons. And I think I'll use that end. That'll be fine. Don't mind that it's a bit thicker on this side and a bit less thick on the other side. Take it down to about there. Like that. And we'll just get a bit of our hairiness off, any random bits of furriness. And then we will make a nice little tie. So have a think about how you'll want it to kind of hang. That will be okay, unless I want it the other way around. Like that. And then work out where your top is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we'd go, leave that as the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's actually probably, feels like it should be up about there. I guess you do it by looks rather than necessarily exactly precisely counting. So again, we will tie off what we were doing down here, which I hadn't done yet. Oops. And then we'll stitch our little tie on. Okay. Off there. I could have poked it back into the end, but there's a few hairy bits on the back anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Get rid of that thread out of there. Get rid of the extra thready bits that are, when you do deconstruct, you do get a bit of threadiness happening, but it's not the end of the world. And then we can pop that on here, and I'll probably tuck it under again, just so that that's about top to top, isn't it? And did I put a knot in my thread? Nope, not yet. Not yet a knot. Okay. There we go. So you want to attach your hanger on pretty well with your stitching, just because that's going to be the thing that probably has the most pressure on it. But at least this isn't a heavy piece, as I say. If you did it with wood or something, it would definitely be a lot heavier. Just put some stitches through this way as well. Again, you can put a stitch or two through your cardboard if you were worried about the sort of weight and sturdiness of it. This has plenty of the fabric to kind of anchor onto, so I think it'll be fine. But if you didn't have rickrack, you could also do lace. I was thinking one would be lovely. I just recently got the wedding dress and a veil from Alex's mum, and I'm planning to make some little Christmas hearts, which I'll share with you. But I was thinking I could also do a wrapped wreath with that, and maybe some lace wrapped around it, making a white one. And then, yeah, again, the mother of pearl buttons, or indeed the white glass buttons could be really pretty. That's not showing at all well, is it, that glass white button? But yeah, they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things. Come back into focus. So yeah, please do show me in the our Slow Stitching Friends Facebook group if you do make a wreath. They don't take long to do. If you don't finagle around like I do, you'd probably have it done in no time. Maybe you're even making one while you're watching this video. Let me know. So yeah, that is with our little hanger. I do like our little tussly bits down the bottom. I'm thinking I could probably, let's see how they go if I just put I just feel like I want another one or two more, little more sort of, just make them a little bit more delicate. And just have a few more in the mix so that it doesn't look like an even number of them. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. This one got a little bit torn when I did it, but I'll just give it a little cut and that should solve the problem. Yeah, that's even better, I reckon. Just nice and wispy. I could even do some little beads trailing down, but I think sometimes it's the simplicity and the sort of classic looks to it. So that's two of them there. I think they're really, really beautiful, as I say, really classic. You can put them up and even have them up all year round. And such a lovely way to display special little treasures on them. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, yeah, stay tuned for more Christmassy projects. If you haven't subscribed and you wanted to subscribe to the channel, it's free to subscribe, no cost at all to you, and hopefully you can get some more fun ideas to create for Christmas, slow stitching Christmas, and using scraps and other items that hopefully you have around your house. Thanks everyone, take care, bye.